Sewell here, Engearment.com podcast. Very, very honored to have on the show today my mentor, leader, and person that I look up to in a lot of ways, Brett Jones. Brett, thank you for being on the show today.
Sean, thanks so much. It's great to have the chance to chat and to speak to your audience.
Thank you, sir. And for the audience who doesn't know who Brett Jones is yet, let me just skim the surface here. Director of Education for StrongFirst, and StrongFirst, as you know, is my favorite school for strength. I got all the kettlebells behind me. I've been through the SFG 3 times, SFB, SFL, Mountain Strong, Strong Endurance. The manuals are like textbooks. They're deep, and he's in charge of the education for that. So very wise person. Also with FMS since 2006. Is that right?
Yes.
Wonderful. And so obviously FMS plays very well with all modalities of fitness and health. So this guy's education, very deep. So I'm hoping to pick your big brain today, Brett.
Let's get after it.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right. Let's rewind. 2001, 2002. What was the kettlebell world like, and how were you involved in it?
So it's funny, in part of my training and stuff like that, I have my little 24 kilo bell sitting over here to the side, and it's about to turn 19 years old. I got that bell. It's one of the originals that I got in late 2001. And so I had gotten interested in Pavel's other books. I had Power to the People and some Naked Warrior, I think, and some of his other books. And they started advertising and talking about the kettlebell. And so I got the book, and I read the book, and I said, well, I can do all this with a dumbbell. And I threw the book in the drawer. Mm-hmm. And about 2 months later, I pulled it back out and was rereading. I'm like, So I hooked up a dumbbell, and I tried, one of the snatch workouts with a dumbbell snatch. And I like to joke that when EMS revived me, I decided that I should go get some training in this. And that's a joke for those of you that might be meeting me virtually for the first time. They don't know my sense of humor. That was a joke. But I became very interested in it, and I went to the second ever certification that Pavel taught in February of 2002. Wow. So it's been quite a few years. And then the year after that, I was invited to become what was known at that time as a senior instructor and assist at teaching certifications and things of that nature. So I've been traveling and teaching with Pavel for the last 17 years, and coming on 18 years, and swinging bells for 19. And prior to that, I had actually worked with Gray Cook. I was an athletic trainer, and he had happened to move back to his hometown, very small town down in Virginia. And so I worked with Gray in my training room and at his clinics from 95 to 97. And then we got hooked back up in 2006 and started producing some materials and traveling and teaching within the functional movement systems as well.
Wow. Brett, you were in the middle of both of, in my opinion, the most effective systems out there. That is incredible.
I was very fortunate. I've been blessed and very fortunate in my mentors. And, I was kind of an early adopter. I was at the first FMS workshop, which was in 99. And have been but just been mentored and had these fantastic opportunities presented to me, and was able to access them and capitalize on those opportunities. But yeah, I've been, I love it when people are like, well, I've been swinging bells for 5 years. And I'm like, that's awesome. That's good. That's a good start.
That's a positive way of saying that. I like that.
Exactly. It's a good start.
Yeah. It's always good to encourage and empower rather than beat down.
Exactly.
Your work ethic is legendary. Do you have any advice for people starting out in any industry, fitness, health, small business in general, about putting in the hours and putting in the work?
Oh, absolutely. What I saw modeled for me by my father and my grandfather and people in my family was certainly you put in the hours, you do the work. Mm-hmm. And that it's no secret, but it is the secret to success is to put the work in, put the hours in. As an athletic trainer, athletic trainers are kind of notorious for being the first people to show up and the last people to leave, and to put in the hours because that's what's required in the job. And so I just brought all of that with me to everything else that I do. And I do like to joke that I won't get outworked. Somebody might be better at something than me, but I'm not going to get outworked in that situation. And so you want to work wisely. You want to maximize or optimize your time, but it's going to require hours. There's kind of some people looking for that shortcut. And I saw a saying in a Thai restaurant many years ago on a trip that an overnight success takes 10 years.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah. So people see someone succeeding, and there's all kinds of memes and pictures on the internet that they show the tip of the iceberg of being the success. And then, underneath is the bulk of the iceberg, and it's the hours and anxiety and work and, things that you put in. And you can't shy away from that. It's going to take work and putting the hours in and study. And it's really that simple. Simple doesn't mean easy,
Sure.
but it is that simple. There's hours required, and personal training in the fitness industry is interesting in that it can be a 14-15 hour day where you have a bulk of people in the morning, lunch, later in the day. You've got some spots where you get your own training in, or you're taking care of clients, you're marketing yourself or doing client acquisition, retention, all of these things. It's a lot of work. And you just have to be willing to do that.
That's great advice. That's really great advice. As an entrepreneur myself, 13, 14 years in, there's no replacement for hard work. None. Do you?
And you want to work wisely. I mean, you can't spin your wheels, know when to change directions, but you're going to be putting the hours in.
Absolutely. And to your point, I heard on a podcast you spoke about this, and I've talked to a lot of other entrepreneurs about this. Working intelligently, working wisely, not keeping busy. Busy work doesn't mean productive work necessarily. Yeah,
definitely. Busy versus productive is probably one of the things that people need the most adjustment on. Just because you were on the computer for 10 hours doesn't mean you were productive. It means you were on the computer for 10 hours. And that can be the difference between that working smarter and instead of harder sort of mindset that optimizes your time and gets you some real benefit.
Absolutely. Gosh, this is great. This is very helpful advice. Do you have any kind of resources or wisdom that you use when you get a sticking point? Like personally, I encounter failure almost daily. I have a new idea, a new project. I throw it against the wall. It might not stick. A lot of people take failure very, very personal. But is there anything you can advise people on how to bounce back?
Yeah, don't take it personally. Simple, not easy. It is because we're so invested in what we're doing. We start to take those things as personal failures instead of business failures. And to your point, you're going to throw a bunch of stuff against the wall. There's stuff that isn't going to work. You're going to lose clients. You're going to gain clients. You're going to, this mill of client acquisition and retention and loss in the big box gym industry, which is going to be forever changed by the current COVID situation. But previously in the big box gym industry, they would expect over 50% turnover. So they would lose and regain 50% of the membership. And so they would maintain, your typical 24-hour fitness or whatever big box gym you want to name. They might have 5,000 members, but they'll lose about 2,500 and regain about 2,500 in a year. And so they just they're on this continual mill. And so you kind of have to walk the line. There's some consistency that has to be there. You're going to be delivering your product in a consistent manner. I'm still teaching the swing. Haven't been teaching the swing for 18 years. Haven't stopped. But hopefully I've refined my technique and the way that I'm teaching the swing. So you have your consistency, but you have your innovation. It's really, but we're personally invested. And so it hurts. The failures can sting a little bit, but you just gotta shift and adapt and keep moving forward. As I mentioned before, I've just been very fortunate in my mentors, and I've been able to bounce things off of people like Pavel and Gray and Fabio and people that might not be with StrongFirst anymore, but still friends. So I have a bunch of people. I have my wife in my family, and those opportunities to get clarity and to bounce things off of people. I've been very fortunate in that. And if you don't have that sort of support, that's probably why it stings so bad, or it's probably why your ideas sound so good, because you're in your own echo chamber. And I'm in my own mind, I'm pretty smart.
I know that feeling. Yeah.
But when the words come out and somebody, a mentor or my wife or somebody hears the words and I hear the words, it's like, oh, really not a good idea.
Thank you for being honest about that. Oh, it's so true. Oh, I can be like, this is going to change the world. And I say to my wife, and she's like, no, take the trash out.
Yeah. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Bad idea. And you forgot the trash.
Right. Get to it. That's life, guys. Oh, I love it. It's great to talk about the reality, because it's really, I know last 3 or 4 years, especially, very easy for people to see on social media or what's written or presented that, oh, it's perfect. It was effortless for this person or this business, when really it was not. And everybody I've talked to, yeah, I know there's so much more behind the scenes and so much effort and failure and just brushing the dirt off and reinventing, especially for most of us in this industry and outdoor industry and athletes. Last 4 months have been something I don't think any of us could have ever planned for, but we all have to adapt to it. I had to close 3 gyms in one day. And so what do you do then? Yeah, you still have people that rely on you for their wellness, health, service, mentally and physically. You got to find ways to help them. So I know a lot of the ones that are still in operation or have changed and offered online services, like a lot of the people we know do. It's been a lifesaver, a game changer. But the people that just show up to some place and go do their business and then go home, and they can't do that, I feel for them,
100%. It's been, to your point, nobody predicted this.
Mm-mm.
Maybe we should have known that eventually something like this was going to come about, but having that sort of foresight and having those plans in place, I think would be a rather rare thing.
Yes.
And we have had some gyms that have made some tremendous adaptations. We have a StrongFirst accredited gym in the Saratoga Springs area of New York. Made a really quick switch to some online offerings, and they're thriving. They're doing really well. Kettlebell Works up in Saratoga Springs. Danny Sawaya, one of our senior instructors, and StrongFirst accredited gym in Tucson, moved his entire gym outdoors so that he could continue to. They're allowed to have outdoor training places, but not indoor. He's like, fine, we're going outdoors. And spent a bunch of money setting up the tents. I mean, this is Arizona. It's not the best place to be training outside during the summer. So but they're succeeding and adapting, and many other gyms are doing the same thing. It's interesting because gyms and personal training situations tend to be very personality based. Mm-hmm. People tend to follow an instructor. They like the way they teach class. They groove on that person's energy. And so that can be hard to transition to online offerings and distance coaching and things like that. And you have to kind of remove yourself. This is another situation where removing the ego and realizing that you have to adapt and provide this new product. And then that this burns a lot of people, but you're not the secret sauce. There are lots of other people offering this service, this product. And you have to do it in a way that resonates with people, and usually getting your ego out of it and focusing on the client, student that you're working with is a big key.
I like that answer. It's very true. For example, the gyms I had to close down, very unfortunate, but I was able to transition to online, and not everybody has equipment. Like, fortunately, I've got all the kettlebells, TRXs, everything I would ever need, and I'm mobile like Danny. So I would meet people outside, safely social distance. It's inspiring to other people that are around, like, oh, you still can get your training and fitness in. Doesn't have to be in the gym with all the machines. It can be as simple as just one kettlebell or your body weight. So that was fun and inspiring. The new gym I'm at, Doc Cardle actually hosted the SFL there. That was fantastic meeting him and going through that. And then we did the SFG at the other location about a month and a half ago. Everybody loved that. So there still are ways to do this safely within whatever state's rules are. Of course, that's the preceding thing. But yeah, it's pivoting, adapting, and serving your people.
Absolutely. No, it's the people that are doing that are going to come out of this okay. And it is, to your point, there's local, state, and of course some federal guidelines, and you have to do the right things.
Yes.
And that's
where
we are at the moment.
Exactly. To your point, doing the right thing. For us, luckily, one of the clients of the law firm my gym was in works for the mayor of Denver. So I have the chief of staff's emails. I'm like, hey, what's current right now? What's best practices? So we're covering our butts, staying safe.
Awesome.
Yes, sir. Well, a little more about your history. On one of the podcasts, I think it's the second or the last StrongFirst podcast you were on, you mentioned kettlebell sport, which I thought was fascinating. I mean, I've gone through that side as well, and I appreciate like the dancing with the bell and the fluidity and the triple breath on the snatch and all these really cool, unique aspects to it. Definitely not hard style, but it's a style, right? What was your experience with that, with the long cycles and all the more crazy endurance stuff?
So we're talking about the early days.
Yeah.
The first kettlebell competition that happened in the States was on a field outside of a facility, because we actually didn't have enough dough put together to actually rent a facility, but they would let us be on the grass outside. And so we're out there on a field in Northern Virginia, I think, maybe it was the Philly area. And I mean, this is 2003, 2004, the early days of kettlebells in the States. And I wouldn't say that I did enough gear voice sport to really have any intelligent opinions on some of it. Certainly I've snatched a bunch and I've done jerks and things like that. But where kettlebell sport went due to some of the rules changes, when they implemented the 10-minute time frames and they eliminated the rest in the rack during the snatch and things like that, the technique drastically changes. It has changed. And there's some amazing performances that are put up by some of the top gear voice sport athletes, and certainly have a great respect for those people that compete and do that. Just not what we do.
Yeah.
To your point, awesome sport, very impressive. Just not what we do. And so. Yeah, that makes me smile to think back to the very early days of the kettlebell world, and we were just trying to figure stuff out.
Yeah,
we were doing the best we could based on the knowledge that we had. There were no competition bells. We'd never seen one of those. We had the cast iron bells, and there was none
of those. That just straight up. Okay.
Yep, the classic cast iron thick handle. It was very different.
Yes. Probably pretty humbling too. Oh,
definitely.
Yeah. Oh, that's so fascinating. And I'm so glad you're open about talking about it, because it is impressive in a lot of ways. It's not how I train myself. I wanted to learn it, but I wanted to respect it. But I've had such better luck using stuff we'll talk about in a few minutes, like the Strong Endurance and the Quick and the Dead and the book back there.
Yep.
For what we do. Like, in my world, it's more important for me to be able to help my in-laws go move next weekend and then go climb a mountain and camp out with my dogs at 12,000 feet and then go back to work. That's my goal.
100%.
Yeah.
It's the kind of it's a sport. Mm-hmm. There are things that are unique to training for that sport. And so that's just a different direction in the training. We focus on, I would say, just more general adaptations. One of the things we used to joke about a lot within the community was the what the heck effect.
Yes.
You do swings and presses for a while, and all of a sudden your pull-up numbers go up, even though you haven't been practicing your pull-ups. So that just kind of general adaptation. And that's, one of the things from Soviet or the sports science. People talk about GPP and they think it's conditioning. Well, GPP is everything except the specific sport adaptations that you're looking for. So there's a lot in that basket. And so we're focused on that big basket that gets us turnover into other things.
Oh, well explained. And it's so true. Every person that I teach, I start with the hard style because it's, in my opinion, more effective and simple and easier to coach. And like you said, when they go into their activities, for example, I train a lot of bow hunters and backcountry skiers and split boarders. And we don't train on a split board or bow hunting. We train with the kettlebell doing certain things. And then they go and do their sport and they're like, what the heck? Like that felt the best it's ever felt. And it just, we're like, I don't know why it works. It just works.
Well, we're targeting some really just fundamental areas to strengthen and have power in, and that's the carryover or crossover. The strength conditioning world went down kind of a weird rabbit hole quite a few years ago of sport specificity, where everything had to look like the thing you wanted it to get better at. Well, in that case, just go do the thing that you want to get better at.
More fun.
Don't try to make your training look like. I've been working with a professional triathlete, and I have not touched any running technique. I haven't touched swimming. I haven't touched. But what I've done is through looking at fundamental movement using the FMS, we found some tight ankles and a tight T-spine. Opened those areas up, the PR started coming. The biking got better, the running got better. We targeted some things for the T-spine and for the mechanics that her coach wanted her to be better at in her swimming. Her swimming got better. I didn't touch her swimming, but I was able to say, well, this is a T-spine issue. This is a scapular issue. This is the stretch so that you can get into this position better. And that's really the talent of a good strength conditioning coach, is to find those weak links. Because as the old saying goes, working on any other link but the weakest one will not change the chain. It won't strengthen the chain. So make sure you got your bullseye on the thing that you need to be better at. Mm-hmm. Still, you're going to do all your other training as well, but target those things you need to be better at. And other stuff will start to fall into place and happen. It's great when you're not fighting your own body in order to accomplish a certain activity.
That's such good advice. It's so true. And may I ask, was the T-spine stretch the Pretzel?
That was one of them. I always start with the rib grab and look at the T-spine in more isolation.
Okay.
Then I go to the Pretzel and look at the T-spine challenged by the opposite side anterior chain. And then I want to gain some active control over that T-spine rotation. So there's a little process that I go through. We just actually did a webinar for FMS covering the T-spine that'll be out soon, and then in the next few weeks.
I will sign up for that. Perfect.
Awesome.
Yeah. For the listeners and viewers out there, if you don't know, Brett Jones has his own exercise called the Pretzel.
I'm going to give one point of clarity there. That was done to me. That was not done by me.
Fair.
So I did not name the exercise. Gray felt it was very amusing to combine a Brett and a Pretzel and to make a Pretzel. He got great amusement out of that. Little did he know, Pretzel in French is spelled with a B. It is Pretzel.
Yeah.
So that was done to me. I did not name an exercise after myself. It was done to me.
Fair enough. Well, of all the exercises to have named after yourself, it's nice to have it from Gray Cook and it to be so effective. I use Pretzel 1 and 2 all the time with my people, and they love it.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a great. I kind of flow through it as part of a little warm up that I have for my, just daily life. Doesn't do favors to our T-spine and hip mobility, and so it's always something to be mindful of. 6-8 hours a day of sitting around on the computer, probably a good idea to open those areas up before you T-spine and hips and ankles before you really start pushing on the body that day.
That's a very good idea. Awesome stuff. Oh, I'm loving all this, but I'm taking so many notes. I've got like a lot of notes right now. This is great.
Very cool.
So you were super involved with FMS even before 2000. You get involved with kettlebells. Start working with Pavel, you said in 02. What was that like?
Yeah, very different. It's February in Minneapolis, St. Paul area. It was in the 30s, and we're throwing water balloons at each other at about 8:30 at night. And the purpose was to learn how to absorb, not stiff catch. And so that's what we're doing with the swing, right? When we have the overspeed eccentric and we get into that loaded hinge position, we want to absorb and redirect. We don't want to stop and catch. And with a water balloon, if you stop and catch, you get wet. If you know how to absorb, you get to throw the water balloon back. So we were doing stuff like that. I think we started with the press instead of with the swing. It was just it was a really different experience, and it's been really, I've kind of grown up in Pavel's system and have been a part and have been witness to and been part of this progression in teaching and things of that nature. So it's been a really interesting journey. But yeah, it's pretty different.
That's hilarious. I would love to do that drill with my clients. That'd be fun.
Just not during winter.
Especially during the winter, make them much more responsive.
Yes,
with cold and wet. Oh, it's hilarious. And to your point about going through this system, I started in 2015. Zara Horton was my lead instructor. Learned like drinking from a fire hose, which is ironic because he's a fireman. And then 2 years later, with you, sir. And you have a great coaching ability to look at somebody and within a short sentence, give them the right cue that just cleans them right up. And it's direct and honest. It's much appreciated.
Well, thank you. It's I was the kid in wrestling who was helping coach. So I've had a little bit of an eye for movement as I've developed. Working with people like Gray and Pavel, you get that eye gets much sharper, and then it's just the years. It's putting the time in. It's I've worked with literally thousands of people at this point, and the nothing replaces that time in. And you can look at Malcolm Gladwell's book Blink, and he'll talk about advanced pattern recognition. One of the things that separates experts from maybe amateurs or people that are early on in their career is you have this log of things that you've seen before. And so your ability to recognize that pattern the second, third, 500th time becomes much sharper, much better. He gives the story in there of a statue that they were getting evaluated, and it was supposedly this like Roman or Greek statue that was very old, 2,000 plus years old. And they brought an expert in, and the expert wanted to see it unveiled. So they had covered it, and the curtain gets pulled back. And the first word in this expert's mind was fresh. The first word in your head when looking at an almost 3,000-year-old statue should probably not be fresh.
No, maybe
right?
But not a statue.
Yeah, exactly. So this expert just intuitively looked at it and said, something's not right. Like that shouldn't be my first response. Well, this company had spent 6 months and a lot of money verifying this thing. And it turns out after having spent all that money, they were wrong. It was a fake.
Yep.
And so, that advanced pattern recognition and trusting that you're seeing what you're seeing is something to develop over time.
A great skill set for sure. Oh, that's a great story too. I love that. Now, yeah, it's right. Like a good coach or good anybody in the profession should be able to see the difference and then find a way to make it better, right?
Yeah. And that's sorry, just real quick. One of the things that's key there is there can be a difference between spotting the flaw and spotting what's causing or knowing what's causing it.
Nice.
A lot of people will bang away on the flaw, but there's a tight ankle there's something else further up the chain. I've seen something as simple as a ball cap influence somebody's form because you put this artificial roof in front of you, and it can change your form. I've seen shorts or pants that hang down too low and artificially kind of stop the swing early because you can't get into your full hinge. Yep. So spotting the flaw is one thing. Knowing what's causing the flaw and being able to direct your attention towards that, that is a little bit of the secret sauce.
That's the moneymaker right there. That's great advice. And, you know, that probably comes from your background too. A lot of fitness professionals, if you've not done yet, I would recommend going through FMS. It really, really helps with this kind of stuff. And then practice.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Time in.
No replacement for time in. Speaking of time, back in the day, I heard that you got into bending steel.
Yes. At one time, I had a pretty strong pair of hands. I was the 11th guy in the world to bend the red nail, which is a 7-inch, 5/16 thick cold rolled steel. And other grip feats. I've picked up 5 10-pound plates with one hand, close to number 3 gripper, just hub lifted 45s, and just I've done some various grip feats and things like that. And haven't played with that in quite a while. But yeah, at one point I had some pretty strong hands.
That's incredible. It blows my mind how you or anybody can get to the point of doing these things. I know you train for it, obviously. I had Dave Whitley on, Iron Tamer, and on the podcast, he just rips things in half like a license plate just for the heck of it. I'm just like, whoosh. Totally impressive, but I have no idea where to even begin with that. I guess at the beginning, but
it's funny because the way I got into grip training, I was already doing kettlebell training. I was contacted by Randall Strawson of Iron Mind to be a witness for somebody bending the red nail. And so while I was there and I was witnessing, and that literally he just sends you 3 of the red nails, and you get hooked up with the person that's making the attempt. So I take the nails, they make the attempt, and I verify it and whatever. But the person that had taught him was there, and this is a gentleman named Steve Mcgranahan. And Steve's a very small, 6'5", 350-pound guy, tiny individual, who I've seen do some of the most impressive strength feats, stuff that what you see in a performance is not the top of the abilities. That's average. That's every day. So there's another level when they're in their own training and they're trying to master maybe a new skill or a new feat. So Steve had me do a few things while I was there, and I bent a 60 penny nail. I closed the number 2 gripper, and he's like, "You should do this." He's like, "You're doing pretty good already, so you should put some time into this." And there is something very addictive and appealing about feeling steel give way to your strength. So when you take a piece of steel and you're the one bending it and you feel it give to your strength, that's a pretty cool sensation, and you start chasing that, and you start chasing the next grade up. And I tend to be mildly obsessive when I get into something that I like. And so I quit doing almost everything but grip feats, and I went from beginning bending to bending the red nail, I think in 4 or 5 months.
Wow.
So I made a very quick progression towards bending the red nail and gaining a lot of grip strength. Kind of did the same thing when I got obsessed with squatting, and all I wanted to do was back squat. And it took me to a 518 in competition squat, belts only, at a AAU nationals down in Florida a few years ago. I think that was 2007.
Wow.
Something like that. But yeah, I tend to be mildly to very obsessive. Once I become enamored of something, I will, again, to the original conversation about putting the hours in.
Yeah.
If it's got my attention, it's got my attention.
And you're in. Oh,
yeah.
I respect that so much. That's some impressive numbers too. If a person was curious about getting into that kind of thing, would something like the gripper be a good way to start getting after it?
Gripper's a great way to start. Kettlebell training is a good way to start. You're going to build a lot of grip strength, snatches, I think in particular, swings. There's a lot of ballistic loading of the grip that really, and that's why I think I was able to enter into grip training at a higher level, and without having done it, because I had this good base of strength. There was a research study a little while back where they found that grip strength and lack of grip strength correlated with all-cause mortality.
Yes.
And it turns out that grip strength can be a fantastic thing to look at from just a health perspective. And if you lack grip strength, there's something going on in the system.
Right.
But that doesn't mean go buy grippers and just sit there, and you can still be an incredibly unhealthy person and able to close a very impressive gripper because you're just sitting there going, it's the lifestyle that results in a strong grip that you're after. It's that active, fit lifestyle that gets you strong hands that you're looking for. It's not strong hands in isolation. But yeah, grippers can be a tremendous place to start. Kettlebell training. It's fun. I kind of transitioned out of it. I just kind of, the next shiny thing, a little bit of powerlifting showed up. And so I kind of went in that direction. And you do reach a point, I think, with some of the grip feats and some of the strongman feats where there's a risk benefit ratio.
Yeah.
Does me pursuing this next thing, is that actually going to, because I got to get up the next morning and teach for 8 hours. I'm leading a workshop or something like that. I've got to be able to demonstrate the skills and be functional and effective. Me being injured or not being able to do something became a liability, not a benefit. Yep. And so I had to kind of keep moving forward.
Well, it makes sense. You have some pretty amazing feats of strength for sure.
I'm glad some of them are on video because I sure can't do them now.
That's true. Some of the things that I think all of us have done, we train hard for, probably can't just get off the couch and do it again. It's dangerous.
They're called PRs for a reason.
Right.
It's not called an everyday. It's called a PR.
Yep. Well, speaking of PRs, this last 4 months during the pandemic, the people who have continued with training and they've done very well with it, have set what I like to call pandemic PRs, which has been really cool to see, remotely.
Definitely.
Yeah. Because now they have, it's going to sound kind of weird, but a little more control of their life because they get a little more rest, right? They're not traveling as much, not paying for parking probably. They're not going other places, so they have more time to cook better food and take care of themselves. Just
the silver linings of a pandemic,
right?
And you gotta find the silver linings because the negatives will drag you down. There are some silver linings and a little bit more time to train. I'm fortunate. I've worked from home for the last 6-7 years. I can create a break in my day. I have a fairly large number of kettlebells scattered around the room. I'm able to get some training in and take care of business. And I think that Courage Corner concept and that having that kind of one-stop shop, 1 or 2, 3 bells, complete routine is of huge benefit. But it has been impressive. And I think post 9/11, one of the industries that did well was the fitness industry, was the gym industry, because people were looking to relieve stress. They were looking to do something to deal with this uncertainty. And I think we're kind of in that same situation where people are looking, there's when so many things are out of control or not within your control is a much better way to phrase it. Mm-hmm. Focusing on what you can control, one of those being your physicality and fitness and things like that, is an excellent direction to regain some perceived control and move forward in your life.
I love that, Brett. That's so wise. And I hope that people take a second to let that sink in for a moment. There's plenty of things, especially right now, we can't control, but the things you can control, those are tiny victories. That you should be investing your time in those things, right? Yep. I have 28 riders on the Engearment team, and a lot of them lost their jobs or they can't do their professional athletic endeavors. And so I try and give them little pep talks. And I say, hey, did you make the bed this morning? Did you tie your shoes? Did you walk your dog for a twice as long walk than usual? Did you make your own food? Tiny victories. Jump on that. You can control that. You can double down on that.
Absolutely. I have a picture, a meme on my phone, and it's this beautiful scene, and it's like a Buddhist monk sitting meditating in this beautiful setting, and then what it says is relax, nothing is under control.
That's true. I love it.
And that's kind of a mindset that if you can realize that you do have these things in your life that you can control and work on, but there's a whole lot else happening that you don't have any control over. That's
Yes.
usually where our stress and anxiety lie. We're trying to control something that we never had the option to control in the first place. And so whether you want to call it more Buddhist philosophy or Stoic philosophy, kind of moving in that direction gives you a little bit more control.
That's very wise. And that's a very good segue to the heavy part of the conversation. I'm not going to claim to be a stoic, but I have used those principles to help me through some of life's more challenging moments. Like I've talked to with you offline, my entire family has gone through some, pretty major changes. My brother died of a heart attack at 21, which allowed me to get into fitness because I wanted to help more people with their health and wellness and fitness. My sister, when I met you the first time, I was her caretaker through stage 4 brain cancer. And so, again, you find these beautiful moments. She lost her sight, ability to walk. So it makes you very grateful for all these little things. And using stoicism as well as taking care of myself as much as I can and knowing what I can control and what I can't and just accepting it and making peace with it as best as possible has allowed me to move forward with all this too. And you recently have experienced a very challenging situation. If you could share with the listeners what you've been through and what tools you use to get through it, I would
Absolutely. So first, all the best to your family and folks that have been through those struggles. You certainly have a different appreciation for what that means nowadays. I myself, on February 20th of this year, was diagnosed with primary tonsillar squamous cell carcinoma, so throat cancer that had spread into surrounding from the tonsil into surrounding tongue musculature. So it was a stage 3 cancer. T4, largest, very large tumor, no lymph nodes. And I went through 7 weeks of radiation and chemo. And I'm just about 10 weeks post-treatment now and getting ready for my follow-up scans. And the process, the treatment, the radiation, the chemo, cancer's hell. And cancer treatment is hell, and it's very, very challenging. The way they did the radiation and the treatment for the throat cancer, I was actually hospitalized 3 different times during my cancer treatment. Once to take care of a back disc herniation, L3 L4 disc herniation and nerve pain. My first week of chemo, I end that week by having my back go and in the hospital for a week or for a few days to get the pain under control. And then once for nausea and not being able to eat. And I lost about 40 pounds in the process of the treatment. And, fortunately I had excess tissue to sacrifice in losing that 40 pounds. I can't imagine what it would have been like had I not had that reserve. And I was heavy. I was not, I was a little thick around the waist and carrying some extra muscle and stuff that I probably didn't need to be carrying. And, but I had that tissue to sacrifice over the course of that treatment. And then several weeks after treatment is just recovering. The radiation's still active. You're still recovering from the chemo and things of that nature. So it was rough. There was a lot of intense moments, and thank goodness, thank the good Lord for my wife, who really saw me through it and was the reason I was able to survive and make it through the treatment. So the role of a caregiver and somebody who's supporting somebody going through that it's as hard, if not harder, on that person. And so a lot of appreciation and for what you've done and for what my wife has done and how it how it helped me get through.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. That's amazing. And I know myself and all of your colleagues and students and friends are just grateful that you persevered through that. That's a very, very tough fight.
I've had some amazing examples from my family. Maybe surprisingly, but maybe not surprisingly, I come from pretty stubborn and pretty tough stock.
Battle skills.
My grandmother on my mom's side is she's survived more than many other people. She's had lifetimes of suffering. She's seen the death of 2 of her husbands. She's had the suicide of 2 of her children. She's had her knee replaced. She's had a pacemaker. She's got terminal cancer. And that's just kind of the big hits, not all the small ones that have occurred. And I was talking to her and I was asking her, you've been through all of this. Like, how do you keep going? And I can see her face, even though we're on the phone. And she paused for a second and she goes, well, you live till you die.
Profound.
And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
So what I've learned, from my family is you don't get to stop.
I love it. I'm writing that down. That's a very good quote.
Yeah.
You live till you die.
You live till you die.
So might as well live, I know a lot of
Exactly.
people. Yeah. Tough stuff happens to a lot of people. We all have our battles we're fighting behind the scenes. Some people are open to talk about it. Some are not. I've tried to be more vocal about it just to help break down the barrier, especially for men. People think they're like reserved and strong, but it's okay to like open up and say, hey, right now my mother's got pancreatic cancer. I'm taking care of her. It's very sad. But, to that credit, opening up allowed me to be a resource to a person this last Christmas. He called me up. I talked to him for 4 hours as he was with his father for the last day of his life. And, it's beautiful to be of service to a person I've never met physically, but
absolutely.
Yeah, it's what we do. We empower, right?
Definitely. And that's, the trite kind of one of the only internet memes that might have some truth behind it. Everyone's fighting a battle that you know nothing about.
Yes.
And so that showing some kindness can be an incredible thing. Again,
and to your credit, sir, you were always very nice about giving a very nice little encouraging, kind message. And it helped me through. So I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. And it's, the struggles, I was on another podcast previously and we were talking about the cancer a bit, and, there's, this person was relaying that there's this perception that, I was so strong and handled the treatment so well. I had my moments. I had my doubts. I had my moments. I had my not strong times, and there was a lot of struggle and a lot of suffering that was involved there. And I kept my head down. I did what was needed. I survived. I made it through the treatment. I've got some follow-up scans coming up that will tell the story of how effective the treatment was, and we'll know better where I'm going to go, from there. There's one saying that I kept in my mind, in addition to my grandmother's. There's an old Winston Churchill quote that if you're going through hell, keep going.
That's good. That's good logic.
So that was the mindset.
I love it.
Hell, keep going.
Keep going. Oh, this is nuggets of wisdom. I love this. Yeah, that's really good advice. And hopefully it hits somebody, I know it hit a lot of people at the right time, and that'll just make the world a difference for them.
I hope so.
Yeah, and it will for sure. So you're out of, I think your last treatment was it in May? Middle of May?
May 15th.
Okay. So,
so 10 weeks, basically 10 weeks out of treatment.
Okay, excellent. And so you probably go back in 2 or 3 weeks then?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thoughts and prayers to you. Lots of love. What are you doing now for your fitness and health routines?
The basics.
Okay.
So swings, snatches. I became a big fan of the strength aerobic style workout. So a clean, a press, a squat, And I have several variations of what that can look like in a training session. But I'm just hitting the basics, and there's an opportunity to relearn a lot of things as I go through this, and there's opportunity to keep learning about myself, my body. Having wasted away 40 pounds of and a lot of that muscle, a lot of that fat.
Silver lining.
I was heavy. I've had to really, I keep finding out that I'm pushing a little too hard, and I've got to step back. I've got to control my output. I've joked for a long time that I'm strong enough to hurt myself, and I really am at this point. My base of strength and the kind of residual memory of what I could do comes with me, and I end up finding out the day after I've done too much, and I have to take a couple of days off. And so I'm trying to do much better at controlling my output and getting good recovery, and but trying to look at those things as opportunities to continue to learn and progress.
That's good feedback. I appreciate talking about that, because I know a lot of people just go hard, and on paper that day's plan is this, but personally, and I think you have as well, used tools, metrics to track to see, like the push band for accelerometer and force, heart rate variability, heart rate in general, resting talk and stuff like that. Are there any kind of tools you're currently using to kind of keep tabs on your abilities?
I'm horribly low on data at the moment. I'm feeling my way through this to a good extent. I'm definitely using. I have a tendency to go back to the clock and want to regulate my work-rest ratios, and I have to step away from that. I have to use the timeless strategy from Simple and Sinister 2.0. I have to apply that kind of across the board with my training right now. Having said that, my plan for today is to do 5 swings at the top of the minute for 20 minutes. Really good recovery, and I'll be doing it at a weight that's very manageable for that. But yeah, the consistency over time, consistency trumps intensity, and I'm not in a position to have high intensity work right now. I have to monitor myself and control, like I said, control the output.
I like that. I like that a lot. And that would probably go for a lot of people too. Training smartly, intelligently, and not trying to push it consistently. Because you will see those gains. Like I said, those pandemic PR people, they weren't going nuts every session. Like, it was very consistent,
I think that, and this is another maybe philosophical rabbit hole that we might not want to travel down, but there's a percentage of people out there who use training to prove toughness. And my grandmother has never lifted a weight in her life, and I promise you she's one of the toughest individuals walking around the globe right now.
Yeah.
And there are people out there who are tough as nails that have never completed a training session. And so I think toughness is revealable. I don't know that toughness is trainable.
I like that.
You will find out what you can do. There's some research out of Russia and toughness not being something that's a trainable quality, but it is revealable. And quit treating your training sessions like you're trying to prove how tough you are. And if you do that, you'll actually start to make progress. There's a lot of frustrated people out there that are wondering why they can't move forward in their training, but they're always using their training as a test, as this litmus test of how tough they are, or whatever the case may be. If you let go of that a little bit, and you trust the training process and you control your output, probably better off.
I like it. I like it a lot. And it's easy to follow. It works for you, works for myself and people we know. Yeah. I never understood. Well, I tried to understand, tried to be curious about why people would go into a facility and train super hard, but not have it carry over into other things. Like I think the carryover is way more important. But that's my opinion.
Absolutely. No, I've joked for a long time that I don't need to be entertained in my training. Results are entertaining.
Heck yeah.
So I don't need my training to be entertaining. It's the results that I'm looking for. And so letting go of the toughness aspect and letting go of the beat down and the tough workouts. Not that I don't have tough training sessions, but they're managed, they're dosed appropriately. And training's an interesting thing. And I'm sure you've met people who identify themselves by the training that they do.
Yes.
Oh, hey, Sue, it's great to meet you. What do you do? I'm a runner. Really? You get paid to run? You're a professional runner. Or Bob, or whoever you may be having a conversation with. We get a lot of identity off of these things that we feel successful doing. And again, it goes back to that control aspect, right? I can control my physicality in a much different way than I can control many other things in my life. So I tend to put the walls up and circle the wagon, so to speak, and try to create this safe bubble to be within. And you start to identify yourself by that thing that makes you feel successful, makes you feel good. And that can be a fantastic thing.
Yeah.
It can also be a path to ruin as you chase that thing as your identity. And when there's some clear indications that you need to take a break or do something different, you have a really hard time doing that because it actually means giving up part of your identity. And that's a really hard conversation. As a trainer, as an athletic trainer, and as a personal trainer, we like to joke about how hard it is to work with runners and how challenging it can be to get a runner to not run for a couple of weeks so they can heal up.
Yeah.
And more than likely, you're asking them to not be them for a period of time. Mm-hmm. So Sean, stop being you.
I don't want to.
Exactly. So don't wonder why it's so hard to get some people to change some of these behaviors and some of these things, because you're challenging them to not be themselves for a period of time. So you have to work with them and give them alternatives and things like that. I don't know how we got down that rabbit hole, but
I love it. No, I love it. I love talking to fitness professionals about this kind of stuff. What we see a lot, and I'm sure you see this a lot too, is people go in or they'd go into a gym and they'll look on Instagram or something for some flashy workout, and they're like, why? It sparkles and this person's got tight pants on, but how does that fit into your training program? Or are you here to just work out? And that's all you need to feel like you accomplished something, and there's no path. It's just something you're doing right now. So yeah, I try and be curious and try and meet people where they are. And then fortunately, I don't work with a lot of those people anymore. I work with people who are like you and me, like they want to go do stuff with their families and they want to be outside and they want to train and they want to see results and they don't want to be in the gym like more than 2-3 times a week. So we know how to train those people very well.
Absolutely. And having those tough conversations with folks that need to have the tough conversation. And that's another thing that you tiptoe into when you
you interview them and they interview you and see if it's a good fit. If not, they get to go to other people, which is
exactly
fun. Yeah. There's plenty to go around. Oh, I love it. Well, we've covered a lot of great territory. You've given me so many really good notes and wise lines. You live till you die. I mean, that's profound. Is there anything else you want to cover and share with our audience?
I don't know. I'm obviously I'm at a real interesting point in my life where I'm rebuilding, relearning, coming out of this treatment, finding out if it was successful here in the next couple of weeks. And it's just continuing to move forward and take care of work, take care of business and family. And, just to my point earlier, you don't get to stop. That's, doing cancer treatment back and forth during a global pandemic was not something we planned on or wanted to be dealing with. I don't want to be dealing with it now. Now it's even more frustrating because I was on lockdown for several weeks just because of the treatments and the immunosuppressed state and everything. And now that I'm kind of recovering and able to maybe do a few things, it's amazing to me to see people not doing the things that need to be done to control this. So I'm sorry, wear a mask. Do the things that need to be done so that we can all move forward from this. I mean, I think it's just continuing to these opportunities to continue to learn and progress.
I love it. That's such good stuff, such good advice. And like you, we have, no joke, 40 masks, Brett. I mean, all the companies I work with, like Patagonia and every company you've ever heard of, they pivoted like the first week of March. Like, hey, Sean, we got these new masks. We'll send out 2 for your wife and you. So we have got a bikini. I'm the one I wear right now is a bikini. So that's like bikini, like stretchy material one. It's pretty entertaining.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. You know, there's a lot of ways to own this. Like our gym has logos on our masks. You know, own it. It's part of life right now. Deal with it.
Yep.
You know?
Do it
for the greater good, not just you.
Sorry.
Absolutely. Indian clubs. I meant to ask about that too. I've got mine back there, and I love these things. I need to learn more about it. Matthew Flaherty was going to teach me some stuff, and we are very fortunate, like you mentioned, very fortunate to have such great friends and mentors in our circle, and just pick up the phone or text or a podcast and just learn, brain dump and spitball ideas and progress.
Definitely. No, I was introduced to the clubs actually back in 2006, 2004. I think it was 2004 by Dr. Ed Thomas gave me a pair. And then came to the FMS kind of home office and gave us some training in it. And we ended up doing a product with Dr. Thomas on Indian club training. And it's something that I mean, they're sitting there for a reason. I pick them up. They're part of the routine on a regular basis. And I enjoy the kind of moving meditation aspect to it. There's a precision that you're looking for that appeals to me. And I remember Dr. Thomas saying that the longer he practices, the more disgusted he gets with his technique. And I can appreciate where he's at, because I'll see myself, I'll do something on video and think, oh yeah. And then I'll look at the video and go, oh no.
Oh, I'm glad to hear from you too, Brett. Time hop will pop up. Like I'll do a Turkish kebab from 2 years ago. I'm like, oh, that's horrible. I put that out there. We can always get better.
Right.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's from the master himself. So give yourself some credit. Just keep practicing.
Absolutely.
Don't take it seriously. I really want to ask you, what do you do for fun?
What's fun? No, I'm kidding.
3-letter word.
three-letter word. You know, I enjoy hiking, reading, spending time with the family. I do consume a little too much TV, but I'm a bit of a sci-fi nerd, and I just rewatched the Firefly series, the one season that they did of it, which is one of the greatest tragedies in the world that they didn't continue with that. So yeah, I mean, that's the basics. I mean, my wife and I haven't been able to do much of it, but we really enjoy getting out hiking and just being out there. It's funny. I did the first time in my life I'd ever slept outside was Glacier National Park.
Really?
Oh yeah. So we took a kind of trip of a lifetime with my dad. Big hiker, wanted to do a trip with his sons. So my brother and I took him to Glacier, and we went and did this hike in 2006. I mean, it blows my mind that it's 14 years ago that I did this trip. And so, yeah, my first time sleeping outdoors was Glacier National Park with a grizzly daybed about 150 yards from where we were, where the campsite was. And my brother waking up at 3:30 that morning, whooping and clapping, and he said he smelled bear. And so it was the most miserable and the most beautiful thing, one of the most beautiful things I've done.
Wow.
And one of the most miserable. Lost 6 toenails that like 5 days, 4 nights, 50 plus miles. we had to reschedule the trip because there was a forest fire in Glacier, and we couldn't do what we were going to do. So my brother, former Marine, took the opportunity to turn it into a 50-mile forced hike, forced march. And so it was, like I said, one of the most miserable, but one of the most beautiful things that I've done.
That is incredible. I've never smelt bear. I've seen bears and I've seen plenty of moose, but to smell a bear, that's next level. I mean, like, that's very close proximity.
Yeah. Now he was successful scaring it off because we're still here. Wow. But it was pretty intense. But it was what an experience. Just Glacier is just such a beautiful place.
It is. And then our audience can definitely relate to you on hiking and camping. This might sound kind of weird, Brett, but I camp 2 days a year or two days a week year round. Like, it can be 0 degrees and a blizzard. I'm still camping because I love it. And then it could be, 85 like it is right now, and camping. The dogs love it. I love it. That's my happy place. And you get to hike around, and it's great for training too. I'm at 10,000 to 12,000 feet elevation, swinging a kettlebell. That's great.
It's awesome.
The views are great. I can't beat it.
Yeah, I have been doing just day hikes. I haven't had the opportunity to kind of get back out there. My wife would like to knock off some sections of the AT.
Oh, cool.
So as time goes by, I think we'll start trying to plan for that. We did one of the high peaks. We were took a vacation in Lake Placid, and we did one of the high peaks up there. And embarrassingly enough, it's considered one of the easiest of the high peaks. I think it's Cascade Mountain or something like that. It's just over 4,000 feet. It's nothing like what you guys have out there. So I know the term high peaks to people in Colorado is like
context. You start at 5,000 feet out here, so take that in consideration. So
yeah, exactly. So and so we go and do this hike, and it was a lot more climbing than we were expecting. Very, very rugged, but considered one of the easiest of the high peaks because it's shorter. Mm-hmm. But the view you get at the top, 360 panoramic, just spectacular. So, but yeah, so we've a lot of day hikes right now.
That's so great. I don't know much is better than going on a hike by yourself or with a loved one. I mean, just outside. There's something magical about it.
No doubt.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you get out and do that. Oh, Brett, this has been an absolute pleasure. I can't thank you enough. We need to do this again. I have a lot more questions for sure. Absolutely.
I'm always up for it. If there's, and coming, one of the things that was very challenging with treatment is I struggled to talk for quite a few weeks. There's a lot of inflammation and just stress on the throat and vocal cords. And it's nice to be able to chat again with ease. And so I'm up for a conversation anytime.
Wonderful, Brett. Thank you so much. And you sound fantastic. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a freaking pleasure talking with Brett Jones. Legend. I'm going to have a lot of links to your website, of course, Brett, and as well to StrongFirst. Here, I was going to do the breathing course in 2 weeks. Are you going to be attending that too?
I'll be in the background. You're referring to Pavel's Second Wind Express, yes, which is happening virtually. I'll be in the background kind of as a moderator or monitor for questions and things like that.
Excellent. I was going to sign up for this, but my father-in-law's in town. We're helping the in-laws move. But I cannot wait to learn more about this because the strong endurance has changed my life. The breathing techniques, I'm sure, will change my life too. So thank you for all the hard work you guys do. It really helps a lot of people.
Thank you. It's try to be of service and try to put the good information out there, and that is students of strength and strength in having a greater purpose, and we want to keep that message going out there.
Now more than ever, it's so true. Strength has a greater purpose. I think I'll leave listeners with that to digest. That's really good.
Awesome.
Well, thank you, Brett. And listeners, I'll have this available on YouTube, iTunes, wherever your ears can go. Or your eyes. I'll put it up there because this is great stuff. Thank you, Brett.
Awesome. Thank you, Sean.